Most welcome to Historiespanen, History Reconnaissance, and D-Day, the invasion of Normandy. Today, June 6, when this video is published, it is 80 years ago since the D-Day operation of June 6, 1944, that brought together the land, air and sea forces of the Allied armies in what became known as the largest amphibious invasion in military history. The operation gave the codename Overlord, delivered 5 naval assault divisions to the beaches of Normandy, France. The beaches were given the codename Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juno and Sword. The invasion force included 7,000 ships and landing craft, manned by over 195,000 naval personnel from 8 Allied countries. Almost 133,000 troops from the United States, the British Commonwealth and their allies landed on D-Day. Casualties from these countries during the landing numbered 10,300. By June 30, over 850,000 men, 148,000 vehicles and 570,000 tons of supplies had landed on the Normandy shores. So, join us and remember this significant day in history with images and voices from 80 years ago. And please, subscribe to our channel and come with us on our continuing journey in history.
This is Robert St. John in the NBC newsroom in New York. Ladies and gentlemen, we may be approaching a fateful hour. All night long, bulletins have been pouring in from Berlin claiming that D-Day is here, claiming that the invasion of Western Europe has begun. Let me read you several of the latest bulletins. One says that a report, unconfirmed by Allied sources, of course, says that heavy fighting is taking place between the Germans and invasion forces on the Normandy Peninsula, about 31 miles southwest of Le Havre. Another bulletin, also from Berlin radio and unconfirmed, says the British-American landing operations against the western coast of Europe from the sea and from the air are stretching over the entire area between Cherbourg and Le Havre.
This is the BBC Home Service. Here is a special bulletin read by John Snag. D-Day has come. Early this morning, the Allies began the assault on the northwestern face of Hitler's European fortress. The first official news came just after 9:30, when Supreme Headquarters of the Allied Expeditionary Force, usually called SHAPE from its initials, issued Communiqué Number 1. This said, under the command of General Eisenhower, Allied naval forces, supported by strong air forces, began landing Allied armies this morning on the northern coast of France.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is New York, NBC Newsroom again. Men and women of the United States, this is a momentous hour in world history. This is the invasion of Hitler's Europe, the 0 hour of the Second Front. The men of General Dwight Eisenhower are leaving their landing barges, fighting their way up the beaches into the fortress of Nazi Europe. They are moving in from the sea to attack the enemy under a mammoth cloud of fighter planes, under a ceiling of screaming shells from Allied warships. The first news flashes do not say, but a large proportion of this assault is believed to be in the hands of American men. They are making the attack side by side with the British Tommies who were bombed and blasted out of Europe at Dunkirk. Now, at this hour, they are bombing and blasting their way back again.
When we actually beached, we were lucky enough to go between 2 of the mines which the Germans had put on stakes as one of the beach defenses. The craft, one of the mines came up along our starboard side, and the craft which beached immediately on our port side hit the next one.
Once again, this is Columbia's news headquarters in New York City, and we are continuing our coverage of the invasion, which, as you know, has now officially begun. That long broadcast we had, well, it came directly from England, not from London. It came from somewhere in England.
I was crouching the barge. Sergeant shouted, "Okay, this is it." So I jumped up, grabbed my gear, jumped into the water. It was a long way from the shore, further than I thought it had been, about 300 yards. Jumped into the water. It was deeper than I thought. I started to swim. We eventually made the seawall. Just as we get alongside the tank towers, we thought we were pretty good then. A Jerry 88mm gun hit our tank and blew us the hell out of it.
Then the struggle across the soft sand. 5 minutes that will always be vivid in my mind. Shells were falling on the beaches. mines still exploding. The whole beach covered with small craft. Men at work organizing the beaches already. Bulldozers widening the exits and laying the wire carpet. Ammunition and tanks and supplies and vehicles and guns coming ashore as far as the eye could see.
Having canceled all regularly scheduled programs, NBC invites you to listen tonight at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Wartime, that's a half an hour from now, over most of these stations, to Fibber McGee and Molly in a special Invasion Day program. Tune in then and all evening long to NBC for complete invasion news coverage. Well, D-Day is here. The culmination of 2 years of military planning and home front production was reached this morning when the first G.I. Joe and his United Nations allies took their step onto the sandy beaches of France's Normandy coast. The nation wakened this morning to a slow consciousness that this was it, and then went to pray and to work. To pray that the liberation of tortured Europe would be speedy and that our country's sons might be spared as much as possible. It was a day of work and of prayer and of hope. This is the European front, once again being established in fire and blood, not only by the Americans and British, but by many allies in the fight against Axis aggression. This is the supreme test of Allied spirit and of Allied weapons. The world's greatest military undertaking is underway. Casualties in this mammoth operation, in the subsequent drive inland, may reach a dreadful toll. The German war machine is still powerful.
The welcome we got in France touched our hearts. Right in the battle, a few hundred yards beyond the beaches, with shells screaming both ways, I saw French women throwing roses at Canadian tanks as they passed, and putting garlands of roses round the necks of marching infantry. An old woman said, "Monsieur, we waited and waited, and sometimes we thought you would never come. But in the last few days, we had known it wouldn't be long. But we knew you were coming this morning, when your bombs and shells started blowing our houses to pieces. I ran into my deep trench, and I was very content. I shook my fist at the Germans as they retreated past my house."
That's all, folks. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.